Hi everyone, this is Nick Marchese from Cloudasta with a Google Workspace training video on getting going with groups. So we all have groups to stay in touch with others within our organization, outside of our organization. But there are two types of groups when people talk about groups, and we're going to go through those today. There are Gmail contact groups, and there are the traditional Google groups. So we're going to kind of dive into the differences between the two, when you might use one, when you might need to use the other, and show you how to get going. So the first one that we're going to start with are the potentially easier ones, which are Gmail contact groups. So these are groups that you make for yourself that do not need to be used by other people. These are just for you to more quickly email folks that you like to email often, as just kind of like a little shortcut. I'm in Gmail right now. So the way to get started is to go to our little waffle menu and go over to contacts. Once we're in contacts, you either create a contact or you have contacts here already, or you can go into your directory. So I'm going to add some folks from my directory to my contacts. I'm going to hit this little plus here. I'm going to bring in Bob and Alice and David. Okay, I'm going to add them. I'm going to go over to contacts here and I'll see them here. Okay, great. So how you make contact groups is pretty simple. So what we could do is we can make a label, hit create label on the bottom left. So I'm going to create a label for this group. And it'll be called the dev team. Okay. And what I'm going to do now is just hover over these different folks. I'm going to check the box where their little circle is. And then on the top right here, there's a little label icon, manage labels. And I'm going to click dev team and then hit apply. Give it a second to work. 3 contacts label dev team. Okay. So the great part about this now is you can now email dev team and you can go ahead and it will automatically populate your email with those folks. So I'm going to go back over to Gmail. Sometimes it takes a minute. So if you don't see it right away when you start typing in the to field, just give it another minute or two, refresh, and then try it then. So I'm going to go ahead and refresh just for good measure. All right. I'm going to go to compose and I'm going to start typing dev, and you can see dev team here automatically pops up. Obviously it has 3 members. And if I want, I could just click that and it will automatically put them in. So what's different here about Google Groups, which we'll get to, is that this is just a shortcut to bring people into a field. So you notice it actually put all of the email addresses in there instead of being a group that you're emailing to. So that's just kind of that shortcut piece, and only you can go ahead and use that. So if you're using it for a 2, great, but maybe you're sending it to somebody different and you need to bring that into the CC field. You could do that as well. Remember that you're bringing them in, and then you could always move them around. So it's individual users that you're going to go ahead and be bringing in, and the Gmail contact group is really just a shortcut to make it work for you. Okay, and remember, if this doesn't come in right away, just give it a few minutes, and you can go ahead and refresh and it should come in. Okay, that's a bit of a simpler one. Now let's go over to Google Groups. So these are groups that are going to be used by other folks as well as you to be able to email. So maybe you have a company-wide email address, maybe employees at your domain, whatever it is. Those are more traditional Google groups. So to set up a Google group or see which ones you're a part of, hit the waffle menu on the top right, scroll on down, and you can see groups here. This will bring you to the groups, my groups page. So I'm not a part of any groups right now. But what I can do is I can see recent groups, I can see all groups that are publicly available to my domain, and favorite groups are starred. So I'm going to make a new group and we'll get going from there. So I'm going to make a new group. I'm going to call it Nick's Testers or Nick's Beta. We'll call it Nick's Beta. So Nick, and now that's the group name. And the group email is going to be by default the name, but the same as the name, but you can change it to whatever you want as long as it's available and not being used by another user or another group. So I'll leave it as next beta. You can put a description in if you like. This is for beta testing, testers only. Next. And then there's a bunch of different settings. Who can search for this group? So you can say only the group members can search for it, or the entire organization. So do you want your entire organization to be able to search and see that this group exists? Or do you want it to be more hidden and only viewable by the group members? So you can go ahead and tweak those as you like. Who can join the group? So you have a couple options here. Only folks that you invite as the group owner. Anyone in the organization can ask to join and have to be approved by you. Anyone in the organization can join without having to ask. They could just join. And then anyone in the world can ask and anyone in the world can join. So a couple different options here. Think about what is the purpose of this group. Does it have to be internal users only? Is it something people can opt into themselves? Do you have to go ahead and approve things? Is it a group that exists outside of your organization with a mixed audience? Think about what you need to do there. I'm gonna leave it on only invited for users for now. And then you've got a couple more settings. Who can view the conversations? This is the different emails that go through. So I have this on only the group members can view the conversations. Oftentimes you're not going to have it on only group managers or only group owners can view the conversations. And this is going to be your more popular option rather than the entire organization can view the conversations, even if they're not a part of it. Who can post means who can email the group. So right now I have it set up so that only the group members can email the group. Maybe you have a group that it's for a subcommittee for a specific task, but you want anybody to be able to email that subcommittee that exists in your organization. So you would say entire organization can email or post, and then or maybe it needs to be an external one. Maybe it's like info at. Maybe it's anyone on the web because you have it listed on your website. And then who could view the members? Who do you want to be able to view who's part of that group? Only the folks who are on it, or the entire organization can see who's on it, and so on and so forth. Next, and then do you want to add anybody right now to this group? So I'm in as my owner, but you can go ahead and add group members just by typing their name in here. So I'll bring Bob in. Add group managers if you want to have a manager who might be able to approve if people are joining. And then if you want to send them a welcome message that you're bringing them into the group. And then what is the subscription for them? So by default, it's each time there is a email they send to it, they get a separate email for it. So each email, they can get a digest or an abridged version. So every couple of hours, they get like one email with a whole bunch of emails consolidated in there, or no email at all. No email at all could be a situation where you want somebody to be on there as a manager or a moderator, but they don't need to see all the messages that are coming in. They just need to have the access to moderate it. So oftentimes it'll probably be on each email as the more popular option. And then we leave this checked on because we are directly adding these members. Hit create group, and it will create the group, and it's going to add those folks to that group for me. And we can go to that group. So now what can happen is anyone in my organization can email nextbeta at test.cloudasta, or anybody outside, because I set it to be publicly available to be posted to by anyone in the world. There's some more. You'll be able to see the conversations that come in here. If you have any moderation rules, which we'll go through quickly, they'll sit in pending for approval. Here on the left side, you can see the members, change their role and their subscription model and whether they're allowed to post. If there are some pending members who are maybe asked to join, banned users, then two settings here. My membership settings as somebody in that group. There's not a lot of settings here, but you could look at that, like my display name, and then the group settings. So this will show a lot of what we just clicked through, but there's a bunch more settings in here that are really helpful. So we looked at who can see the group, who can join. We did all these. Do you want to allow external members to join people outside of your organization? Yes or no? We went through who can view, post, and view members. Then we get some more things. Member privacy. So identification required for new members, who can contact group owners, so on and so forth. So you can see there's a lot of different settings in here, maybe on best practices for what you think, but you should go ahead and just check them out as you make them. Do you want to allow email posting to be able to go ahead and send it via email, which is almost always the case. Web posting would be if they were to go to groups.google.com and start a new conversation, not via email. Having conversation history on, so on and so forth. Who can reply privately to the authors, so the person who sent it. Who can attach files, moderate content. So moderate content would be if somebody wanted to, maybe like put it in that pending state before it's actually pushed through to the entire group. Some more spaces here. I'll scroll down a little bit. Default sender. So for the default sender, this is the default address that's used in the byline for when messages are sent. So is it the author's address, the person sending it, or the group's address? And then message moderation. So do you want to moderate messages from non-members or moderate it for all members? Moderate means it's going to kind of sit in that pending state until somebody pushes it through. And then some member restrictions as well as spam handling for you to look through. What are different people using there? Do you want to go have a rejected notification message? Do you want to have the standard footer in there as well, or a prefix in the subject? Maybe it's next beta in brackets, and then the subject that somebody puts in. And then auto replies. If you have an auto reply that you want to have go out when somebody emails the group, there's different options here for both inside the organization or outside, and members or non-members. How do you want replies to be posted? Do you want to send it to the recipient, to the group who it's going to? We talked a little bit about conversation mode, and then who can moderate and manage members. So who can go ahead and add members and change members' roles. And then if you want to go ahead and make specific new roles or delete the group, you can do that all here. So there's a lot of different settings in Google Groups here. To get up and running, there's not a lot you have to do. As we saw, you don't even really need to go into this screen, but it's probably best practice for you to understand what you're setting up and what you're doing, especially if this is a group that you'll be using not only internally, but externally as well. So I hope you now have a better sense of the two different types of Google Groups that are available, whether it's the Google Groups that we just talked about here, or the Gmail contact groups that we talked about at the beginning. If you have any questions, please reach out. Thanks so much.